friend, welcome back to my channel. Kaylin here, Full Purpose in Heart, and today's video is a plan with me video. Today is Friday, so I'm getting ready to move into the next week, so I figured I would take you along and film this video. Do not be fooled, this is a staged video. I don't always curl my hair and put on my face of makeup and everything when I decide, hey, I'm gonna sit down and plan school. So I am going to intentionally just kind of verbally walk through with you how I plan 1 week to the next. For those of you who potentially have either never planned a school week before or feel intimidated by it or just don't know where to start, then this is just going to be a video for you. I know it's not a good habit to apologize before the beginning of a video like this, but it is a very rainy, cold day outside and I don't have any external lighting. So this video is what it is, right? It is what it is. So here we go. All right. Let's go ahead and plan, and hopefully this is going to be one of my shorter videos over the compilation of the many videos that I make because I get a little chatty, so I'm going to try not to get chatty. So number one is your tools. I choose to use a homeschool planner separate from my everyday life planner. That may be more cumbersome for you than you want. You may want to put everything into one planner. You just need to decide how you want to organize your plans and your schedules. There's a couple of benefits to writing down your plans. A few that I think of right off the top of my head is number one, you can kind of keep your school on track, make sure you're going where you want to go, wrapping up units in a decent time, not that that always happens, and making sure that it flows so that you're not bouncing around from one topic to the next and then coming back. So it kind of helps create a good flow of what you visualize to what actually is accomplished by the end of the year. Another plan is for record keeping purposes, especially if you have to report or return anything to your district or state or what have you. Having a planner kind of helps you be able to do that because you can look back over the course of the quarter or term and be able to see, okay, these are the things that we accomplished. Here's how I can, here are some things I can put together for a portfolio. So it does have some benefits. For me, it's just strictly organizational purposes, and I enjoy seeing the progress that we're making and making sure that we're actually getting done. It also kind of takes all of that jumbled mess inside my brain, puts it on paper, so then as I go from week to week, it's like, okay, what are we doing now? And I don't have to think about it. It's just already there for me. The second part of planning is you kind of have to decide how far in advance you want to plan or if you want to retro plan. So there are kind of a few approaches that you can take to that. I've done it many ways. Although I've never retro planned, I have done it where we've planned an entire year out, and then I kind of was breaking it up by quarter, so it was more like 12 weeks. Then I cut that down to 6 weeks. Then I cut that down to what we do now, which is week by week by week. I will pull out my planner and say, okay, this is what we did last week. What are we going to do next week? Retro planning or reverse planning, if you have not heard that term before, is where as you finish your school day or week, then you go back into your planner and you write down what you did for various subjects day to day. For me, I would need to do it at the end of the day just so that I know what we did. I think if I had waited until Friday to plan retroactively, then I would have forgotten already what we did. So there are a few approaches that you can do. So there's a couple of tools, of course, and a couple of approaches. Now, there's lots of planners that you can buy out on the market, and I have not successfully used those very well. And so very early in my homeschooling career is when I started making my own planner. So this is an example of my planner, and we'll be using it today as I share with you how I plan. But I just I copied a little bit the layout that you get on many planners, but specifically the Happy Planner. I just didn't want anything as bulky as the Happy Planner had, and I kind of experimented with how I wanted my boxes set up. In the end, this is how I've kind of set it up, okay? So let me go to a blank page so that you can see. This is how I have set up my planner. And if you choose to get it and it works for you and you want to try it, it's on Teachers Pay Teachers, but it will just be a blank PDF that then you can print out. And I have typed in here in the PDF, I've actually just typed the daily subjects that my kids can do just to save on writing. But, you know, you can obviously have some shorthand or something like that that you can do. I've done it both ways. This is just kind of how I decided to do it this year, and it has been working. If you go to a previous video, I think it was the one that I did not too many months ago. I'll put it here in the eye in the sky. At the end of that video, I kind of share how you can import the PDF into a document editing program and then edit it that way. I'll be totally honest, I'm not tech savvy enough. Some of those teachers, paid teachers, creators are very tech savvy and make editable everything's for you, but for me, I just wanted to be able to have an array of fonts and the freedom to put those words anywhere I want. So you can create, or you can grab this, throw it into like a Canva, and then edit it as you want, okay? So anyway, this is where we start. So today's Friday, and if I were to just open up to the next week, and I'll just, you know, choose a blank week here so we can kind of do it together. I'm just gonna do it towards the back because there ain't no chance I'm gonna get through all these pages. Let's just take a side step. When I make my planner, I count how many weeks of the school year do I want to do, and then I always like round up. I don't know why. So if I'm like 32 weeks, let's make 35 copies or whatever. So a typical school year, I believe, is 32 weeks. It's 180 school days, but now I'm forgetting how many actual weeks of school that is. That's how many years it's been that suddenly now I can't even pull out a number. So anyway, just decide how many days you want, then print it out. I'll have to like update. When I update my planner for the next school year, I'll film another video kind of explaining all of the like tips and tricks on how you can print it out for yourself. But it is just a very simple, very inexpensive. You just, you know, use a higher quality paper, like a heavier paper, and it's been working for me for all of these years. So anyway, okay, got sidetracked. So when we start, should I just like start filling it out with you? Gosh, I don't have like a pen. I'm a little bit unprepared, I guess. Okay, so the first part is weeks. When I plan my school year, I do count the weeks that we are in school. I do not count weeks where we skip school or if we like don't do anything that week for whatever reason, right? I don't count those weeks. So I do count how many actual weeks we do school work more than one day in that week. So I think like right now we're in like our 14th week of school. I'm going to say it's January. 15. We just finished our 15th week of school. We just finished January. Today's, you know, we're in the month of February. When I'm filming this video, it's the first week of February. And so, to say you've done 15 weeks when there's been like 5 months, homeschool. Okay. So anyway, that's what I put up here in this first part. I count how many weeks of school we have. I don't have to actually report my school weeks or my portfolio to my state or my district or anything like that. I don't have to keep attendance records, but if you do, then that would be helpful. Okay. So you can put week number 16, and then kind of along the edges here, I write down the days of the week. Okay. So we're starting here in this next week. It's going to be, February 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9. Okay. So just like this. Now, the way that I've made my planner, this section here, I just do for like family things that we are doing together that are either repetitive or they're not, like whatever. So if we have a dentist appointment, let's say, or if we're going to the trampoline park to like a PE day, then I'll put those things in here. We have co-op one day a week on Tuesdays. So every week co-op is there. I threw that in there. So we just kind of use this section as, you know, what's going on that day, so that as I'm planning our school week, I know how to work around anything that may be coming up. So I, like, for example, typically we make our dental appointments in the morning, and I mean, real life, I come home from the dentist, the chances of us jumping into like a full-on school day are pretty rare. So I may just plan that day to just do their grade level work. If you want to know how I like organize my whole school day, check out the video. I think it was posted on Monday, so you can check that out if you need to. Okay, so now I have all of these three. Again, check that video, how I plan my school day. This will make a lot more sense to you if you haven't seen how I plan it. So the next section I'm gonna do is I just plan out our family school. And the first thing I do is our morning basket. To this day, I still call it my morning basket. Did you watch the video? It is not a basket. It is a full-on cart. But to plan that, I have this list in the back of my planner. This is just like a sticky note. And I refresh this sticky note each year. So I don't move it from planner to planner and keep it. I just refresh it every year based on the materials and the resources that we're using in our morning basket that year. So this year I just have like a list of stuff, our calendar, poetry books, flashcards, character studies, manners, emotions, creative writing, report it. So those are like the animal reports or state reports, and then logic puzzles. And what I do when I plan is I'll go to the week previous. So opening up my planner, I'm going to say, hold on one moment. The last thing that we did was logic puzzles. So we're going to loop. Have you heard of loop scheduling? If you haven't, eye in the sky, I will put loop scheduling. It's a very old video. I don't know what you're going to get out of it. So I should probably do a refresh because I've been doing looping for a minute now that I may have a little bit more clear conversation about it. But anyway, logic puzzles is here on the bottom. So I'm just going to go right back up to the top and go down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, we don't do school on Tuesdays or Fridays. But anyway, so I'll write down on my planner, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that with you right now. I'm going to write down on my planner what we're going to do the first day. So calendar is what I try to do every day. We're not perfect at it, but that's going to include our daily poem and our daily this day in history. So I will write in my planner right here, I'll write calendar, and I'll just repeat writing calendar on each line. Okay, so you can see calendar, and then I would write calendar right here. In the interest of time, so this isn't a 47-minute video, we're not going to put that on there. Okay, so that's the first part. Then that's not technically looping because I am going to try to do it every day. But then I'm just going to go down here and we're going to do flashcards on Monday, character studies on Wednesday, and usually I do manners and emotions. Sometimes I'll do it together. It just kind of depends. So flashcards, characters, and manners. Let's say we're going to do that. So Monday, I'll write flashcards. Tuesday, I'll write character, CHARACTER. And then Thursday, I'll write manners. Or was it emotions? I can't remember. I think it was emotions. Maybe it was both. Obviously, talking and planning makes it a little more challenging. Okay, so now I have those things written down. I would take a pause from that. It depends on my mood, but most of the time I would take a pause now that I've just penciled it in, and I'm going to move on to the other two sections. Occasionally, then I'll go back and I'll dive deeper into this. So then I would go, what flashcards am I going to do? I'm not going to go through the whole deck of the art flashcards that I have and look at every single painting. I may pull out a few and then I'll be like, oh, okay, so let's study this particular artist and talk about that. Again, this chunk, our morning basket, I try to keep it like 15-ish minutes. So I don't want to like very in-depth lesson, but we are going to talk about it. Likewise with character, I'm going to open my character studies book to the one that we're on. I'm going to find one of those activities that I like. If I need to put some materials together for a craft or a game or something like that, then I'm going to do that now. And then likewise with manners and emotions. This manners one doesn't have any prep because I just like turn to the page. Typically we do it as copy work and conversation, but the emotions one, I am going to have to open my book, see what we did last week and what's coming up next. What do we want to talk about? Do I need to make a copy of that page or something like that? So I just prep this column. Again, sometimes I'll do it right now that it's fresh in my mind. Sometimes I'll do all of my prep at the end of my family school planning. Okay, so that's this line. Now we're over here. This is the history one. So I would pull out my curriculum. Right now we're doing the Civil War. I'd see, okay, what did we finish last week? Sometimes I can do this without pulling the curriculum out. I just go back to the previous week, which this is a blank page, but I would just go back to the previous week and be like, oh, okay, well, we finished. I wrote down, in fact, I'll even just show you here. I wrote down that we were going to do the Battle of Gettysburg, but we didn't do the Battle of Gettysburg. Okay, so I'm like, oh, okay. we started it, but we didn't finish it. I wanted to like kind of develop the conversation more. So over here on the first line, I would put Gettysburg videos. So just write that down, Gettysburg, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So now I have this memory like, okay, when I come to school on Monday morning, I'll be like, okay, let's look on YouTube. This would require a teeny bit of prep. I'm going to search on YouTube, Gettysburg for kids. And then I would just preview some of those films just to make sure that the content is what I want to cover, that it's not like overly in depth or 37 minutes or anything like that, just to make sure I find the right video. And then I would be like, okay, the video is 3.5 minutes. We're going to talk about it for another 2. I'll show them my pictures of when we were in DC. And then we drove up to Gettysburg that day. So we'll talk about that. That'll be like our full lesson for the day. So I just kind of like mentally walk through it in my head. If writing those little reminders down is helpful, then for sure do it, right? Like scrapbook pictures, and maybe you want to like find a couple of questions that you can put on there. This is like side tip, ChatGPT is great. If you're trying to think like, okay, well, what kind of questions can I ask my kids? Since I don't particularly use a history manual this year. Oh, I just remembered that I did actually buy one. I did actually pay for a history teacher's edition of a book, and I have not pulled it out once. So that was a like light bulb, interesting. Anyway, you can ask ChatGPT, and which is an AI creator, if you don't know, and just say like, what are some questions I can ask my, 5th grader about Gettysburg to spark some conversation or whatever. Okay, so that's a good one. Then I would look we're using the history pocket. So I'd just be like, okay, what's the next pocket? We still have to do Sherman's March to the Sea. So I would write that down here, figure out, well, maybe I need to do videos. Is there like something that we need to do? Or are we just going to add like whatever? Okay. Think about that, write it down. And then do I want to start a new pocket this week? I mean, realistically, it's like, oh, we have to wait till next week so we can start a new thing. So I probably won't do that. Okay. And then we move to the next subject, which is science. So for me, we're going to be doing constellations this week. So I would look into my book that I'm using and kind of like briefly preview the text. What is it that we're covering with constellations? Then I'm going to jump over to Pinterest because I have a bunch of pins that I've done with how to like have a fun craft with constellations. And I'm just going to plug those into my days of what it is that I want to do on those days. Okay. So that's how I would do all of family school. In my mind, I keep in my mind, like I want family school as a whole to be no more than 90 minutes. So as I watch the clock and we're actually going through the school day, then I'm like, okay, well, I still want to do this. So let's stop this activity or let's abbreviate this activity. Or I'll be like, well, we're not going to have time for both. So now this day is not going to happen. It'll be moved down. And if it moves down for too many days, then it just goes to the next week. So this is why I don't plan 6 weeks in advance, because too often my experience was that I didn't finish the content that I had planned in week 1. So then it was bumped to week 2, but week 2 was already filled out. And so now I need to like erase it or figure something out. I don't know. So that was the problem that I had there. A warning, a tip to you, my friend. If having a bunch of blanks in your planner gives you anxiety or makes you feel like a failure, then this method may not be best for you. You may want to do something retroactive so that you can always have a bunch of like filled boxes with highlighting. So the highlighting is as we're going through our school day and we finish it, then I highlight that we did in fact finish it. Okay. So that's like this side here. Okay. So then I say, okay, these are actually the things that we did accomplish. And this was a very successful week with the exception of like this. You can see I kind of crossed this out and I wrote something different, but then it looks like we didn't even do that thing. So anyway, that is how we plan family school. Any questions? Jump in the comments. Let me know if I'm missing something significant. The next part is I'm going to plan my kids' schedules. And I do this in 2 places because I need to give my kids their assignment trackers. And then I also have my own personal log of what they've accomplished so I can keep track of what they're doing. Okay. So that's going to be on this side of my planner. I have each of my kids, and then written here, I have the first line is their morning work. We talk about morning work in several videos. I don't have it actually listed out. I just highlight whether they did their morning work that day or whether they didn't. It's just a visual log for me to see who's falling behind and who needs to have some encouragement in getting their stuff done, okay? Then I have M is math for me with a box around it. I have my reading and my English. And I will go to the previous week and just write down what the next number is to that lesson. So if my kids finished lesson 7, let's say, then I'm going to put lesson 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Then as we go through the week and the kids are finishing, without fail, every single time as we get to like Wednesday and Thursday and my kids are logging into their lessons, I'm like, what lesson are you on today? Because I'm like, I don't even know. And if they tell me where they're supposed to be, then I'm like, okay, cool. We didn't like miss too many stuff. But sometimes they'll be like one lesson behind or something. And it's just like trying to make sure that I stay on top of it. But we've been in school for, what did I say, these 15 weeks. And I think we just talked about the number lesson my kids are on. I'm like, oh my gosh, we've been in school for 4 months and you haven't even completed like 2 months worth of work. So that's homeschool, right? That's homeschool for you. Okay. So that's it though. Okay. That strategy is for lessons that have numbers to them. So they're English lessons, lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, typically, really easy to just kind of track. Math is the same. We're lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the reading here, depending on where we're at, that's what we'll put for reading. So if my kids are reading a particular book, then I'll just put like 30 minutes of reading or 20 minutes of reading, whatever it is for their grade level. And then, but like right now with my daughter, we're doing a book study. So we'll actually read the book together. So I'll say chapters 1 and 2. And then, down here in this empty space, I'll write if there's a craft or something that kind of correlates with the curriculum that we're following, which is one that I kind of like made up myself. So it is what it is. But anyway, then I'll just write those down in these boxes so that I know what it is that I need to do when I show up in the schoolroom Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, whatever it is. Then I can just look at my planner and be like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing today, because either A, we didn't finish it on Monday, so I just bumped it down to today, or B, we're just moving right along. It works better for me that way, instead of showing up and being like, okay, what are we going to do today? Or every single night after we finish school being like, okay, let me like collect all my thoughts and figure out what we're doing tomorrow. When I taught public school, I did it both ways in public school, especially in the beginning of my career. It was very much like a day-to-day survival process. But as I became more experienced in teaching, and I was in like my 6th and 7th and 8th years of teaching, then it was a lot more natural for me to like see the entire unit and how I wanted to have it kind of flow into the school weeks, and then be able to modify from there. Speaking of that, I'll just kind of throw this in here at the end of the video. I do, at the end of my planners, I make a unit plan. And in my next planner for this next school year, I'm actually going to have a sheet specifically for this. Right now, I just put it at the end of a regular week. But in the update, when I get an update, I will have like a unit plan page specifically for that, because this is okay, but it's not pretty enough. Okay, so what I do is I write down what I want to study. So then as I'm filling in my days week to week, then I'll be like, oh, okay, so we just finished stars and constellations. The next section is going to be the sun. We're going to talk about the eclipse. Okay, then we're talking about astronomers. If I was really organized, I would have written down like Galileo and whatever, modern day astronomers that are popular today or whatever. I didn't. Then we're talking about space rocks, then planets, explorers, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this is like a unit overview. And as I plan my weeks, when I go to that column in Family School for Science, I'll be like, oh, okay, we finished the stars. What's next? It's going to be the sun. That way I'm not like, oh, well, the first thing I think about when I think of space is planets. Let's just jump to the planets, talk about the 8 planets. And then now I'm like, well, we missed a lot of space, right? So anyway, we plan the unit. Then I throw those in there. The last step to planning for me is that I will take all of these numbers and lists and everything that I put on in here, and then I'll go to that child's assignment tracker. I talked about this in my morning or our school routine video. So if you don't know what this is, look there, and I talk about how I make it and what's on it and all that stuff. Anyway, I will take this column and transfer it onto my daughter's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday sheet so that she knows what she needs to accomplish. This also has her morning school, so I'll use that same strategy. Usually I have to actually pull out their books because we don't really talk a lot about like, hey, what week are you on? I just like look at it and make sure that they are in fact doing it. So then I'll just put like your journal, you're on page, whatever it is, right? 7, 8, 9, 10. Your spelling, you're on week, whatever it is, week 7, page 1, week 7, page 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Likewise with geography, I'll say you're on week, whatever, 7. Okay. So that is how I plan. Is that a pretty easy approach? And it works for me because then, like I've mentioned, as I go through day to day to day, it's like a brain dump, so I don't have to hold it all into my brain. And it helps me see at the end of the week, what did we finish? What did we not finish? And what are we going to carry over into the next week? Which of my kids need to like double up on their assignments, or do we need to start skipping some lessons to help us move along because we're finding it repetitive? I've noticed if my kids are in a unit where it's like, I know all this stuff already, like I do feel like my son's English is feeling like that, then I'll kind of move along a little bit faster and get to the next section so that we can, you know, just move along. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful. If it was helpful, give me a little thumbs up. Let me know that you watched it and that it was appreciative to you. I still chatted a lot. I wanted it to be shorter, but that's full purpose and heart for you. If listening to long videos and having to like move along my content is something that you enjoy, I would invite you to consider subscribing. I've always got something to say, obviously, when it comes to homeschool, and hopefully you'll find something that's encouraging and valuable here. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in another video.